Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to the latest episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Lots to get to tonight. Chi-Town is Sky-Town. The WNBA season tipped off over the weekend. And while many prognosticators were thinking that the Sky would be having a bit of a rebuilding year after some serious departures, including, of course, Candace Parker, Courtney Vandersloot, Emma Meesman, and others, instead, the Sky are off to a 2-0 start on the year. 2 impressive road victories, one in Minnesota, one down in Phoenix. We will be discussing that. We're going to hit to just about everywhere on the show tonight. We're going to stay on the hardwood and discuss the Bulls, whatever they are now that they failed to have lightning strike and somehow get the number 1 overall pick. We'll check in on the baseball going on tonight. The White Sox are over in Cleveland taking on the Guardians. We'll check in on them. We'll talk a little bit of Cubs. There was some NFL news this afternoon as OTAs have begun for many teams, including the Bears, and the owners just keep figuring out ways to piss me off. All that and more coming up on this episode of Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on, everybody. Let's go. And once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad to be with you here tonight for another episode of Chi-Town Weekly. We are going to talk a whole lot of everything Chicago sports here on the show tonight. Basketball, baseball. We'll even get into a little bit of footy, a little bit of soccer, some collegiate stuff as well as, of course, some off-field football things. Lots to get through tonight. So glad that you are here for it. Glad that you are here with us. And, of course, before we get started, we do need to take care of our homework, as we always do here on the show. IE Sports Radio, of course, now has, as you might remember from last week, has now been around for 9 years. Yes, 9 years now here at the station, and we continue to bring you the absolute best, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans. And with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. First one starts at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout-out on every one of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to thank our Patreon supporters now: Bay Area Raised, MLS Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. And ways to keep up with us on social media. Of course, IE Sports Radio is available on all the major social platforms. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're there for you at IE Sports Radio. Or, of course, again, go to the website, iesportsradio.com. That's where you'll find information on all of the shows, when we're going on, what topics we'll be discussing next, all those good things. This show is available for you on Twitter as well. You can find us at IESRC is where you can find us on Twitter, or you can follow along with me personally. I am on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live here tonight on Monday night, hop on into the chat room. You will find Larry B already in there making some noise in the chat room. You can interact and we can have some fun. Larry, I'm glad that you're I'm glad, Larry, that I'm able to provide you with the necessary distraction from your Lakers turning inevitable, tucking their tails and running. I saw the stat today. I did not realize this, that the Lakers, not only have they never come back from being down 0-3 in a series, they've never even won game 4 when they're down 0-3. Larry, I am so very sorry, and I'm glad that I'm here to provide, if nothing else, a more welcome distraction and a far more enjoyable product than what's probably on your television right now. Taryn Rodriguez is also in the chat, so we can interact and have some fun back and forth. Taryn normally is right after us with Set Point. He went on with Set Point this afternoon already. So thank you, Taryn, for passing the baton over to us. And then we've got a little bit of room to stretch our legs. We're not going to go too much past an hour, but Taryn asking if the Untouchables are actually going to win this week. I hope so, but I don't have my hopes up. I'll put it that way, Taryn. But we want to start the show off tonight with the WNBA. The WNBA started its season over the weekend, and the Chicago Sky are off to as good of a start as they can have. They are 2-0 through. They are 2-0 to this point on the season. Larry, I see that comment. I will address it shortly. I'll address it a little later. Just suffice to say, that's the most perfect name in all of Chicago sports. Do not touch that name. But the Chicago Sky off to a 2-0 start, including their win yesterday down in Phoenix. I know the big story, rightfully so, yesterday in Phoenix at the WNBA was the home return of Brittany Griner, her first home regular season game since being detained in Russia for a year on interesting we'll put it that way. Interesting charges. We'll put it nicely that way. But that was, of course, the big story for yesterday was the home return of Brittany Griner. However, and she had a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong, especially in the second half, she took over the game. A double-double, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks. Would have had a 5th block, had one of them very strangely got called a foul when the commentators even mentioned, wow, that's probably the most gentle block we have ever seen Brittany Griner make, and that's the one that gets called for a foul. So she probably should have had 5 blocks in the stat book. She was phenomenal, but it was the Sky who came out on top in the game and played overall the better game and got the win yesterday, 75-69. And so far through the first 2 games for the Sky, a lot of things to go on. First of all, you're starting the season, no Candace Parker. That's, of course, the huge one. She's out in Vegas and making the Aces look ridiculous. Just ridiculously good. But you've also got Courtney Vandersloot missing now. She's in New York now. You've got Allie Quigley is sitting out the season. She's just not participating this year in the WNBA. And a slew of others. Enough to make you think, oh man, this is going to be a tough year for Chicago. They're probably going to be rebuilding. And instead, Kahleah Copper, who already was a very talented, very good player, is showing that she can be the leader of this team, that she can be somebody that can be the face of the franchise. Through the first 2 games of the season, she's got 35 points combined through the first 2. Elizabeth Williams, one of the newcomers, she's a veteran, but first year with the Sky, through 2 games, 24 points, 14 rebounds. Also, the 2-time now winner of of Coach James Wade's game day belt, which is an awesome thing to see. Basically, imagine the WWE Champions belt, that size, only where while the W is still in white, instead of having a black background, it's a red background behind it. It looks really sharp and really cool. Williams has now won it both games, and Coach Wade even said before handing it out yesterday, "Is like, look, I want everybody to get this. I want everybody to want. I'd love for everybody to get this, but Elizabeth just had to have it." After this game, it was just she demanded that she win it, and you look at her play; she played very well yet again. Another strong start that we're having after the first game. As I get my scores and my boxes all pulled back up and make sure that I'm saying everything correctly here. Morgan Birch had a strong game yesterday against Phoenix. Also coming off the bench, coming off the bench and playing hot against Minnesota. Alana Smith, her first game with the Sky, she was a perfect 5 for 5, including 3 for 3 from 3-point land for 15 points. Can't do a whole heck of a lot better than that in a game. And the defense is still there, is still very, very present. That's something that's been a staple for the Chicago teams throughout. As we welcome Mike Pat into the chat as well. He's actually the one who indirectly gave me the inspiration for the title of tonight's episode. Skytown Weekly tonight, as we're talking all things Chicago Sky to kick off the program tonight. But the defense overall for Chicago, it's just so strong down the stretch against Phoenix yesterday. There were moments where, with just a couple of minutes left in the game, it was a very close, tight contest. They closed the door. They did not allow a point for well over a minute in the fourth quarter there, when the game was very much in doubt. The Sky were only up by 2 with 1:48 left to go. They did not give up. They did not give up another point until there were, 10 seconds left to go in the game? 6 seconds left to go in the game? Strong defensive times from the Sky. Another one, again, in the second quarter against Minnesota on Friday night. Oops, I pulled up the wrong game with the links. Not the Canadian preseason game, the one in the regular season on Friday. Minnesota in the second quarter on Friday night in Minnesota. At the end of one, it was 24-22 Minnesota. At halftime, it was 44-27 Chicago. The Lynx scored 3 points in the entire second quarter on Friday night. That is some strong defense that you're seeing. Morgan Birch with some nice highlight steal. Just the team as a whole not allowing buckets to go in. Some strong stuff there. So reports of the Sky's demise, we're happy to say, have been greatly exaggerated. It's going to be very interesting coming up. Their next game, and they're getting love too across the board. I looked at a couple of power rankings right before starting the show tonight. Both on both CBS and ESPN, the Sky moved up in their WNBA power rankings. In the CBS one, they moved up from 7 to 5 overall. In the ESPN power rankings, I'm pulling it up right now to make sure that I get this right. I know that they are 4. They were 10. They were almost the bottom of the barrel in the WNBA, according to ESPN. And after just 2 games, they've moved them all the way up to 4. Huge game Friday night coming up now with Washington. Washington is currently 3rd in ESPN's power rankings. CBS has the Mystics currently at 4. So for both of them there, this is the team immediately in front of Chicago in the power rankings. Going to be a really good test. Obviously, the strongest test that they've had yet, but it's at home. They get to open up their home portion of their schedule. Yeah, it's a tough opponent. yeah, Mike. Remember, it's a little bit like saying they're in the top 10 in the American League or the National League. Well, remember, there's only 15 of them. So if you're 10, you're barely in the top. You're barely avoiding the bottom third there. Yeah, only 12 teams. So, so a strong test upcoming for the Sky on Friday night. You can catch that game over on Ion Network, is where that game is going to be broadcast, or just head out to the game. Why not? But a strong start for the Sky to tip off their season. I want to, before we move on and talk some other hardwood, we will talk some other hardwood tonight. I want to talk the Bulls, but I do want to catch up real fast in the chat room. It was moving around quite a bit there, and it looks like Larry is ultimately the instigator for a lot of this here. Larry's picking on the Chicago Untouchables quite a bit. He's suggesting that they need to change their name. I have mentioned this many times on the show, Larry. That is the best name of all the sports teams in the great city of Chicago. Do not change that name. Do not touch it. Granted, that's in part I am a huge movie nerd and a history guy, so Chicago Untouchables just reaches me probably a little differently than it does other people. But that team, do not change that name. I don't care how bad it gets there with the Chicago Untouchables. Do not touch that name. The Sky, though, definitely are right now better than the Untouchables. And some of those college programs might be that way too. That the Redbirds and the Fighting Illini might be a little bit better. Taryn giving us a little bit of a programming note too, that we'll be able to stretch our legs next week as well. Well, next week, and I'll get into this a little bit. Taryn, you mentioned that Set Point's not going to be on Monday next week. This show is not going to be on Monday next week either. We're actually going to do a special Sunday afternoon broadcast next week. I will do a little bit more on that later on in the show. But next Monday, so Set Point won't be on next Monday, and Chi-Town Weekly will not be on next Monday. We will be doing a very special and unique show. This coming Sunday afternoon will be our next episode. So I'll let that tease hang there for a little bit. We'll pay that off before we leave here tonight. All right. So before we transition, before we get off of basketball completely, I do want to talk about the other professional basketball team in Chicago. So we had a chance there that history could have been made last Monday night had the ping pong balls bounced properly. Chicago could have been the first city to have the first overall pick in the NFL draft, the NHL draft, and the NBA draft all in the same calendar year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Unfortunately, as was most likely to happen, the Bulls did not land in the lottery, which means that the Orlando Magic got the pick. It is number 11. They did, for what it's worth, they did move up a spot. They moved up to 11. So the Orlando Magic have the 11th overall pick. It finally and completely pays off the Nikola Vucevic trade. The Bulls don't have a pick in the draft next month. Their first round pick goes to Orlando. The second round pick was taken away for them because the NBA tampering or BS. So you don't have a pick. You don't have a draft pick in this year's draft. And if I remember correctly, the Bulls don't have picks for a while yet either. So the Bulls don't have a pick in this year's draft. Vucevic is a pending free agent. They don't have a lot of cap space. They basically are able to do a mid-level exception and a low-level exception, which I will admit I don't fully understand those things. Mike, I know that you are much more hip to those things, the exceptions. Mike Pat in the chat, I know you are much more hip to those things. I just know that the Bulls are basically do not have money to spend, that they are so tight up against the cap that they have no money to spend. As I'm looking up. Yeah, so the first round pick went to Orlando. The second round pick is actually with the Lakers. They owe New Orleans their second round pick next year. They potentially owe a first round pick to the Spurs in 2025. They will definitely be giving their second round pick to the Spurs in 2025. They might be getting a first round pick from Portland at some point. But they've only got 2 first round picks in the next 3 drafts. They're old, they're expensive, and they're bad. I don't know how this team can improve. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting offseason. I know the NBA isn't quite to its offseason. We've got the conference finals seemingly just about to wrap up, and then the NBA finals are going to be starting here next week. And we'll be keeping an eye on that, as it looks like it's going to be Denver for the first time ever in the NBA finals. And on the flip side, Miami. Think about this. Had the Bulls been able to pull off the upset against the Heat, think of the ripple effect that would have had on the rest of this Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't for 1 second think that the Bulls would currently be in the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston, let alone being up 3-0 in that series. But, think of what the ripple effect that would have had on the rest of the Eastern Conference to this point. Who knows what we'd be looking at? What? Boston, Milwaukee, probably, right? That's probably what we'd be looking at. So we'll keep an eye on the NBA Finals as we get there, but we'll definitely also need to have a sit down with either Davidson or Dentarius from Fast Break and have a serious conversation of just what can the Bulls do, because after they did not catch lightning in a bottle last week during the lottery, they're up a creek. They are up a creek without a paddle. And the welcome mat has been put away for Arturas Karnisovitz and Mark Eversley. That's for darn sure. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball, both sides of town. One was in action tonight. The other has the night off, but there's still plenty to talk about on both sides of town. With that, you are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pulp culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So we talked a lot of basketball to open up the show. Now we're going to talk some baseball. It just went final right before the break there. The White Sox are in Cleveland. They started a series against the Guardians. It's a 3-game set. Not a good way to start the game tonight. 3-0 Cleveland with the win. The Sox just 3 hits on the evening. 1 double and a couple of singles. And that was it. This coming in for a game where Hunter Gaddis came in tonight to the game tonight with an ERA well north of 6.86. Now it's down to a 5.26 after this. The first man out of the pen, Sam Hentges, came in with an ERA of 11.5. No, clearly that's what you're going to have happen when it's going to be a shutout. You're going to have two pitchers that both have ERAs above 6.5. Oh, yeah, clearly they're going to get a shutout. Indeed, that's what happened. And I was so ready to be somewhat optimistic about the Sox, too, because they took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians in Chicago. Then they follow that up by sweeping the Royals. So they'd won 3 in a row. They'd won 5 out of 6. They had a good week last week. I was ready to sing some praises about them. And then they do this. Yuck. The Sox had their own interesting things going on with their own pitching rotation. With Mike Clevenger on the injured list, Jimmy Lambert technically got the start tonight. He basically was the opener through the first inning. Gave up a couple of base runners, but didn't give up a run. Kept it clean. And then Jesse Scholtens got his second major league appearance, came out in the second inning. he took the loss. It's a hard loss to take, unfortunately. He gave up a run in the second, a wild pitch, gave up a run, but that was all he gave up from a scoring perspective. It was pretty good overall. Only allowed 2 hits. He did walk a couple batters, so scattered 4 base runners over 5 innings. Needed 67 pitches to do it. Only the 1 strikeout, only the 1 punch out. The big blow then was the 7th inning home run given up by Garrett Crochet. Mike Zunino, the big 2-run homer in the 7th inning, made it a 3-0 game, and that would prove to be enough for Cleveland. But very disappointing. Very disappointing performance from the White Sox today. And so that takes the White Sox and puts them, they're now, 11 games under now? Yeah, 11 under, 19-30. They're 11 games under, 7 games back of the Twins, 8 back in the loss column. And they have now, no, they're still in 4th place. Thank goodness for the Royals still sitting there at 20 games. My gosh, the Royals, 20 games under 500. So the Sox still sitting there in 4th place in the division. Had a chance to catch up to Cleveland a little bit. They still, I guess, could a little bit, taking the next couple games. Could still get them closer. They could tie in wins at least. Mike already looking ahead to the trade block. You don't want to touch the White Sox bullpen with a 10-foot pole right now, Mike. There's definitely bullpen arms are not a great thing that the White Sox have at the moment. Let me go take a look. Let's go take a look at their pen. I mean, what can I interest you in? Well, I guess one guy that I could interest you in, Joe Kelly, has turned it on kind of recently here. 19 strikeouts, a whip of 0.6, ERA of 2.7. He has not allowed a hit in the last week. Five strikeouts in 4 appearances in the last week. I'd have to look at his contract situation. I'm not sure what his contract situation is at the moment. Let's see. I'm looking on ESPN, which I know is not the best place to be looking for that sort of thing. Well, then you go to the next natural progression, and that is, how about starting pitching? And this leads me to an article that I stumbled upon this afternoon while I was eating lunch. That was the Milwaukee Brewers think they can get Dylan Cease. Excuse me? No, I'd understand if teams are looking at Lucas Giolito because he is on an expiring deal. Heck, I'd even understand if, all right, you're looking at Lance Lynn because he did just have a phenomenal start. You know, he's starting to throw the ball well again, and he's a crafty veteran that a team trying to make a playoff push could, he's a good rental kind of a guy. But Dylan Cease, I'm sorry, no. If you're going to be, I don't believe that the White Sox are going to blow this thing up and start over, because that would mean that Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams and Jerry Reinsdorf would ultimately have to be willing to take the blame for this thing going wrong. And because the three of them have not been working in concert with each other, especially Rick and Jerry, that there's going to be enough finger pointing and infighting that they're not going to blow this. I don't think they're going to blow this thing up. I think they're just going to continue to. They're just going to continue to no. See, this didn't work because you did this weird thing when you should have done this thing instead, and you just let me do it and it'll work and it'll be okay. And in the meantime, the players are showing you that Mike's just trying to get my goat here. What would I accept in a trade for Dylan Cease? The trade that I saw from Milwaukee involved the Brewers giving up 3 of their top prospects, which are all in the top 60 prospects across baseball. I'll admit I did not look at it closely enough to remember who the players were or what positions they were. I will get back to you on that, Mike. I will come up with an actual serious offer of what it could be for Dylan Cease, but suffice to say that it's going to be a lot because the kid's ready to be the ace of a staff. You know. So, and he's young. How old is Cease? You know, he's 27. He's got plenty of great years ahead of him, even if that mustache is just, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Shave the ferret off the face. But yeah, don't be making plans for Dylan Cease. I know the numbers aren't looking great right now. For him, that he's a bump in the road, but don't be making plans. Mike's already. All right, the Brewers came up with 3. Mike's in here. And for those that don't know, Mike, when he's saying a package of prospects, he's talking about the Baltimore Orioles farm system, which is loaded. So I can understand. Where you're coming from there. And there are some tantalizing options there, but we'll get back to that a little bit on what a package would look like for Dylan Cease. But suffice to say, I was not happy to see the Brewers talking about trying to get Dylan Cease from the Sox. I don't like that. Even though we're a month away from anything close to any real trades. I will tell you, Mike, okay, if you're looking for bullpen help, Liam Hendricks isn't back up with the big league club as of yet. He's finishing up a minor league rehab start after his heroic defeat of cancer. Amazingly enough, he is less than a year after revealing the diagnosis. He is pitching in the minor leagues, and he's going to be back up in the relatively near future. I believe he's on an expiring deal. Fantastic closer. So if you're looking for a bullpen arm, Liam Hendricks, one of the best closers in the game, might very well be available come the trade deadline. So, but yeah, it just got on my nerves a little bit when I saw the Brewers talking about Dylan Cease. I didn't like that. It bothered me. You bothered me. Go away. Go away, Brewers. Also, you're the Brewers. That division is bullcrap. You don't need any pitching help to get through that division. And you're not good enough to get through the rest of the National League. So what are you doing trying to buy? Just stop it, Milwaukee. Stop it, Bernie. Bernie Bagos, the host of Big Cheese Sports on Sunday afternoons here on IE Sports Radio. I know you're behind this. We're going to have to talk about this on Sunday. We have a discussion here about the Brewers trying to come for the White Sox starting pitching. It's the only thing they have going for them. The only thing they have going for them. Michael Kopech, finally looking like Michael Kopech last week. Holy cow. 8 innings of just absolute dominance. I don't care that it was the Royals. I don't care that it was the Royals. Michael Kopech was just, oh my goodness. 8 innings, 1 hit allowed. Struck out 10. Allowed 1 base runner. That's the Michael Kopech we've been waiting for. Absolutely waiting for. I hope that we see lots more of that this season. Easily Kopech's best start. All right. So that's enough White Sox. Let's talk a little bit of the Cubs on the other side here. So they're off tonight. Their second day off in 4 or 5 days. They were off Thursday last week. They haven't played on a Thursday yet in the month of May. And then they turn around and they have tonight off too. So hopefully it'll do some good because boy, have they been bad lately. I mean, they have been bad. Dropped 2 out of 3 from the Twins up in Minnesota. And when I say dropped, the 2 that they lost, 27-4 was the combined final scores of the 2 games that they lost. Ugh. Then they get swept by the Astros. And then you think, all right, well, they're headed into Philly. All right, yes, the Cubs are on a 5-game losing streak, but the Phillies are on a long losing streak. Something's got to give. This could be it for the Cubs. And the first game looked really good. They seemingly were able to get things going. A 10-1 stomping of Philadelphia. Nico Horner, 4 RBIs in his first game back. He went 3 for 6. Seiya Suzuki, 2 for 4. Yan Gomes, 2 for 4. Christopher Morel, 1 for 4. Couple RBIs. Heck, even Nick Madrigal, 2 for 4 in that game. Marcus Stroman, excellent job pitching. Then the rest of the series happened. Then Saturday happened. They got their butts whipped. Kyle Schwarber said, "Hi, guys. Nice to see you again." Led the game off with a grand slam. 6-0 at the end of the first inning, en route to a 12-3 final score. Christopher Morel homered again, but that was about the only good thing to happen there. And then they lost yesterday 2-1, another 1-run loss. Their old buddy Craig Kimbrell got his 399th career save. Yeah, as Mike's bringing up, there goes that obscene run differential. That run differential, though, strangely enough, it's gone down significantly. It's still the best run differential in the National League Central, though. They're still plus 21. Amazingly enough, despite all these losses and a couple of blowout losses last week, their run differential is still plus 21, which would still mean that on a normal team that's played 46 games, they'd be something like, 26-20. Instead, they're 20-26. They're 6 games under instead of 6 games over. It's still a weird dynamic going on, but it's feeling more and more like the part of that it's going to change is not the record, unfortunately. It's going to be the run differential is going to come down. That's what's been happening the last week or so since I brought that up. They have struggled in May. The one exception being Christopher Morel. Some Larry wanting Mike to suggest some wine for me during this fall's Bulls season. Mike, also the host of Let's Whine About DMV Sports, always starts off his show with an adult beverage of some form or another. Larry, I think the way that I'm going to need to get through this Bulls season coming up is going to be some whiskey, not wine. So, Mike, if you could hit me up with some of your favorite brown liquors, stronger than beer, I'd take those. But now the Cubs are getting ready for the Mets. And while the Mets they're not blowing people away as much as we thought they would. They're 25-23. They are sitting second place in the National League East. You'd think that this is going to turn around for the Mets, and I feel like this week is going to be some doom for the Cubs with this series against the Mets, and then they host the Reds this weekend. Maybe something will turn around, but we'll see. Then they've got the Rays coming into town after that. I'm not excited for that at all. That's not going to go well. Mike suggesting port. Actually, I'm not a fan of port. I have had port before. It's it doesn't. It's too strong for if you're in the mood for wine. It's the wrong taste buds there for wine, and it's not strong enough if I'm in the mood for something a little stiffer. So it's a weird. It kind of, unfortunately, port kind of misses for me on both sides of the wine hard stuff mix there a little bit. So, I mean, at the same time though, if you have a bottle that you're willing to send me to sample, I won't say no. I'll save it for the appropriate time. But the one bright spot right now going on for the Cubs is Christopher Morel, the aforementioned Christopher Morel. He's just, oh my goodness. What is he now? 11 games played right now up in the big leagues this season, and he's already got 8 homers. You know, and that's after he was knocking the cover off the ball while he was down in AAA also. But he's just, 11 games, 8 home runs, already 14 RBIs. He is yet to have a game this season where he hasn't had an RBI. He's now, yeah, Mike, that's true. I do owe you a wine. Yes, I do owe you a bottle. I need to get that down to you. Thank you for reminding me, sir. Yes, I know what I'm going to send. I just have to get it and send it to you. So I will pay that off. That was from, I placed a bet with Mike that depending on how a White Sox Orioles series would go, it was a 4-game series. I said the Sox will win it, take 3. The Sox proceeded to drop the first 2 games. That was a quick loss. Tell you what, it's the last time I bet on the White Sox. But Christopher Morel has been a bright spot for the Cubs. Hopefully he'll be able to keep that going, and hopefully they'll be able to turn this around a little bit. They're starting to the offensive struggles have been there throughout the season. Now they're starting to have some pitching problems. Not just the bullpen. The starting rotation is struggling a bit as well. So hopefully they're able to course correct that a little bit. But they've got the Mets this week. Then they've got the Rays next week. And then the Angels coming up here. A trip out west for the Angels coming up as well soon. It could be some tough sailing ahead for the Cubs. All right, we're going to take one more fast break, and then when we come back, there are a couple of rule changes that came out in the NFL today, one that I liked, one that I absolutely cannot stand. So we will discuss those, plus we'll do a little bit of roundup of some scores from over the weekend. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
What's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff from my people on the 913 South. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Kahleah Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Kahleah Henderson, at Kahleah_Henderson on Twitter, at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. While we were doing that commercial break, Mike Pat, you busy man, sir. He also runs the blog here at IE Sports Radio. He just dropped the most recent blog post. I was able to read it during the break. Check it out. Go to our website, iesportsradio.com. It is there. Mike will also be spreading it around Twitter. The IE Sports Radio Twitter page will be sharing it out. Tells a little bit of the history of the station after we celebrated our 9th year anniversary last week. Kudos to you, Mike, and Larry with the little bit of an interview in there. Excellent job by both of you guys. Be sure to check that out, iesportsradio.com. You can check out the blog there. It's part of WordPress is where you can find it as well. So excellent work there. And while you're at the website, check out our Patreon link. Starts at just $5 a month. Bay Area Raised, MLS Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. They are all supporters. They get shout outs on every single show. If you've got something that you want to promote, a business or a personal project, we can help do that for you. We can help promote that and get the word out for you on every single one of our shows across the station. All right. Want to do just a couple more minutes before we wrap things up here tonight. We are it for the station tonight, so we'll go just a little over the hour. Not a ton over the hour, though. We'll do, before we do our last real topic, bring up for us tonight our couple of sports from over the weekend, couple of roundup scores from over the weekend. And on the soccer pitch, the Fire finished with a 3-3 draw over the weekend. Portland, unfortunately, just absolutely wrecked the Red Stars over the weekend, unfortunately. So not good news there on the soccer pitch. Unfortunately, the Fire, I had all my scores and they disappeared on me. It was Atlanta United finished with a 3-3 draw on Saturday over the weekend. The Red Stars unfortunately got blasted yesterday 4-0 by Portland. So rough weekend there. In the college ranks, Northwestern is in the NCAA softball regionals. They're getting ready to take on Alabama later this week, so good luck, go Cats. Eastern Illinois, unfortunately, got in the way of the Northwestern of the Northwestern team there, and unfortunately, that did not go the way of Eastern Illinois. But congratulations to Northwestern for advancing on there. We'll keep you updated on that. And in the baseball, Illinois is taking on UT Martin, and Northwestern is taking on Iowa as well going on there. So some things to keep you up on. Before we get into our last little bit here, talk a little bit of NFL. The OTAs started today, organized team activities. Media wasn't present for the Bears today. No big news, which is a wonderful thing because that means nobody got hurt. That's always what you're worried about when you have these things, is that you just don't want anybody to get hurt in these things as players. Both rookies and veterans alike now are getting ready to work together. The Bears did sign their 4th-round draft pick, Roschon Johnson, earlier today. It's a 4-year deal for Johnson, which is what would have been expected in that spot. So that means the only guys left unsigned are a pair of their 2 second-round picks. Jervon Dexter and Tyreek Stevenson are the only guys unsigned. I believe that means they cannot participate in the OTAs, I believe, if I remember that correctly. If I remember that correctly. But then the other thing that was going on today in the NFL world, the owners got together for their spring rules meeting, a chance to officially formalize some new rules. There were 2 big ones that came out today. One that I like, and one that the English language does not possess words that are strong enough for me to convey how much I loathe and despise them. If you already know what the rules are, I'm sure you can guess which one is which. But we'll start with the one that I liked. In fact, I don't know why they ever got rid of this rule, because it used to be a rule. For some stupid reason, they got rid of it, and now they've realized to bring it back. And the rule I liked was that now teams are allowed on game days, if you have a third quarterback, you're allowed to dress him on game day without it counting towards your 45-man game day roster. So you can have an emergency quarterback dressed and ready to play, so that if your first 2 guys go down, you're not having to put a running back or a wide receiver or an injured quarterback out there to play because we only dressed 2. That, that's all basically we're allotted on game day. It's a rule that the NFL had for years. They had this rule in place where your third string quarterback, he was the emergency quarterback. Your third stringer dressed, he wore a uniform, he was out there, but he officially was on the inactive list. He could come in if everybody else got hurt. For whatever reason, they decided to get rid of that rule. The San Francisco 49ers fiasco in the NFC title game showed them that, hey, that was kind of dumb of us to get rid of that rule. Let's bring it back. They officially formalized that today. So kudos to you, NFL. It does not make up for this one, though. Thursday night games are eligible to be flexed from weeks 13 through 17. So you could wind up thinking that your game is scheduled for Sunday afternoon, only to find out that no, it's been moved forward. It's been moved forward 3 days to Thursday night. Oh, Thursday night football, how do I hate thee? Let me count the ways. This is a pure money grab. That's all it is. The players don't want it. The fans don't want it. Hell, even some of the owners don't want it. This rule passed by the minimum threshold allowable. You needed 75% of the team owners to vote in favor of this rule to get passed. They got exactly 24. Had one more owner said no, the thing wouldn't have passed. I want to go to those 24 and say, really? You couldn't? One of you. It's all we needed. One owner to wake up and realize that this is a terrible thing for the game. I know that Amazon is whining and crying about, we gave you all this money and our Thursday night lineup sucks. Yeah, you're Amazon. Go cry me a river. You're making tons of money. I feel zero sympathy for you, Amazon. None. Absolutely none. I don't feel any sympathy for the NFL at large either. It's doing fine as a product. You don't need Thursday Night Football to do well in order for the NFL product to do well. We're all hooked on it. We're all football junkies. We're all going to watch. Though I will say, the Thursday night games, I avoid. I do avoid the Thursday night games. If the Bears are playing, fine, I'll watch it. Though before I started doing this show, if the Bears were on Thursday night, it was not uncommon that I would skip it, just out of principle. I don't like the Thursday night games. I don't like that they exist. I don't like that the package is there, so I don't watch it. I'll say that up front. I do not watch the Thursday night games. I'll watch the two that the Bears are doing this year, but I won't watch any of the others. Now, there are some caveats on it, some minor things that make it just ever so slightly less draconian. First of all, the Bears cannot be affected by it this year. They cannot. The Bears already have 2 Thursday games, and they have said no team can do more than 2 Thursday games in a year. And the last Thursday night game that the Bears are doing is before Week 13. That's the other thing with this rule is it will affect only weeks 13 through 17. So you're getting basically what is Week 13? Is that December? Or are we still in? No, that is December. So if it's a game in November or earlier, it can't be touched. And the Bears' last Thursday night game is November 9th. So the Bears already have 2 Thursday night games scheduled, and the second one couldn't get moved into Sunday by this rule. So the Bears will not be affected by it this year. The other thing that makes it slightly less evil is they do have to give the league has to give 28 days notice, which is more than twice as long as they have to do when they're moving the Sunday night games around, or now the Monday night games, as that's been added into the mix too, as you can move it around. So basically, anymore, the NFL schedule is a little bit like a game of whose line is it anyway. It's all made up and the points don't matter. The order is literally all that will hold in stone. The day of the week is now completely, totally subject to the whims of Jeff Bezos, whoever the hell is in charge of Fox. I know he's getting sued by a million different people. And then whoever's in charge at CBS, and then Disney. Those are the 4 people that are now in charge of the NFL schedule. Amazon, Fox, CBS, and Disney. That's who now controls the NFL schedule, because they're the ones who broadcast the games during the regular season. So if you want to find out when your team's playing, go ask them. They'll tell you. But for the Thursday night games, they do have to give 28 days notice. So it isn't, for the Sunday night games, it's basically, as an example, if they're going to be moving the Week 10 game, they have to announce it by the Tuesday in between weeks 8 and 9, which gives you basically a little over a week and a half to know what's going on so that you can make the changes. For the Thursday night, they have to tell you almost a full month in advance what's coming. So you do get a little bit of time, but it's for the players. You go from, hey, we're going to be playing on Sunday to, oh, never mind, we have the short week turnaround. I hate it for the players. I hate it for the fans, too. I mean, if you're a fan of a team during weeks 13 through 17, I don't know that I'd buy tickets for the game, quite honestly. I would wait until you're inside that window and know it's going to be played on Sunday. You got to get inside even the 12-day window there, because I guess it could get, depending on it, could get flexed into Monday too. I'd wait as long as you can to buy tickets. Unfortunately, that makes them more expensive. And if you're traveling, it makes your hotel more expensive and your airfare and anything else like that all the more expensive. As Mike just brings up, super annoying for season ticket holders who have to travel. Yeah, it's okay if you live within easy distance of the stadium and your work schedule is rather flexible. All right, you can make it work. But man, otherwise, shoot, why buy a ticket any more than the last second before the game? Which is unfortunately when you're going to pay the most for them on the secondhand market, because that's the only way to get them. If you're waiting to the last second, you're not going to get them straight from the team, a week before the game. No way. You have to go to the secondhand market to get all that. So very frustrating. Very frustrating from the NFL. It totally inevitable. Totally, absolutely. As soon as it was put on the docket at, several months ago, that, hey, we're considering doing this, it was totally inevitable that we all knew it was going to happen, because it was Amazon wrote them this huge check to be able to broadcast these Thursday night games, then realized just how terrible the Thursday night product routinely is, because every team has to take part in it. So you wind up with games like Bears Commanders last year. Ugh. You wind up with those rough stretches of just miserable games. So I get why they want to do it, but at some point somebody's got to put something other than the dollars and cents first. But very seldom does that happen. All right, that is going to do it for our show tonight, but I'm not cueing the music just yet. Oh, Mike, don't even. Remember what we were going to do before, when we were wondering if Larry was going to have the 3 and Out preview show? The face-off. There we go. I'm sorry, Larry. I forgot what it's called for a second there. The primetime face-off. Mike and I we had it all planned out of what we were going to do before the Bears Commanders primetime face-off last year, before it got canceled. We were gonna just jointly. There's only one way to watch this game, and on camera just crack open our favorite beers. All right, I haven't queued up the music yet because I do want to I teased earlier in the show that I will not be on Monday next week. I'm actually going to be on Sunday this next week. Little bit different of a show. So the next show is going to be Sunday, May 28th. May 28th at 3 o'clock Central Time. I have a special guest lined up. She has not been on the show before, but she is highly, highly, highly instrumental in the show. My wife is going to be joining me on Sunday. We are going to be taking a page out of the Sports Couples Perspectives playbook, and we're going to be talking about one of our all-time favorite fun, silly baseball movies. We're going to be talking about Rookie of the Year. You will be able to catch that this Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock, will be the next broadcast. We are going to have a lot of fun. That's all that we've got lined up for the show, is we're just going to be talking about that movie, the movie itself, what it means to us, some of our favorite parts, our favorite moments. We may have some surprises along the way too, but I'll keep you posted on that. And with that, we will finish out the show. Thank you again to all of our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlo Scrape, Team Gate, and our anonymous donor. Thank you to Larry B. All the hard work that you do behind the scenes, good sir. I saw the updates to the website this afternoon. Looks fantastic. Again, iesportsradio.com. You'll also find the blog post that Mike and Larry just put up there on the website, giving a little bit of a personal history of the last 9 years of IE Sports Radio and some things for the future. Thank you to Larry and Mike and Taryn for hanging out in the chat room with us tonight. Lots of fun there, gentlemen, keeping up with you guys. It was bumping. It was a lot of fun in there. Finally, thank you for coming and listening, whether it was live here tonight on Monday night or whether you're listening after the fact on Spreaker.com or YouTube or iHeartRadio or available now on Apple Podcasts. Very excited to be part of the Apple Podcast network as well. So no matter how you found us and how you're listening, thank you very much. It is very, very much appreciated. I know you've got a ton of options out there for listening to different shows, sports. I'm just glad that you make this part of your week. Again, the next episode is going to be airing this Sunday, 3 o'clock Central Time, where my wife and I will be breaking down Rookie of the Year. It is celebrating an anniversary this summer, and we thought we would celebrate that a little bit as well. For IE Sports Radio, I am Adam Karnick. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Thank you all so very much for tuning in and listening. We will see you this weekend. In the meantime, go Cubs, go Sox, go Sky. We'll see you next time.